the game while you listen.
What's going on here?
This ragtag crew of adventurers is covering the problems of the average player.
Where should I begin?
Discussing the home brews, modules, and the latest content for all things D&D.
What in God's holy name are you blathering about?
It's Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's recipes for everything.
What you're feeling is so normal and perfectly natural.
With your host, the Pirate Captain.
Everybody loves me, and I don't know why. I'm an asshole. I really am. The Pirate Captain is a dick.
Chef Bolgg.
Let me take a couple steps back so I can, really get this point across.
It's bullshit!
And Loke the Bard.
Instead of making a deal with Cthulhu or, a greater devil, you found an imp who was willing to give you dark vision in exchange for a gallon of blood.
With a little mayhem, mischief, and a bit of bardic charisma, it's time for the show.
That's right, we're back at it again. It's always a wonderful adventure with me and my bestest buddy, Bolgg. Bolgg, where are you, buddy?
Oh,
the adventure's over
hi.
this way, over that way.
Right. Okay.
Notice how I
looking
did
at myself.
I noticed it's. I don't. Where did you get that one? Where did you get that giant life-size poster and put it on me ship? How did that happen? Let's just be honest.
I just had it printed out at my local Kinko's.
I'll speak.
Also, they had chains and whips on the walls and swings that were not meant to be swung on like I did. They got very angry.
I don't think that's the actual Kinko's that you're supposed to go to, but all right.
I mean, they printed the poster.
They did a pretty good job on the poster. I just wish you wouldn't have plastered it all over me ship. And with me, as always, and as much as I've been trying to throw him off the ship, but somebody keeps attaching life preservers to his frickin' ass. Oh, Loke the Bard.
See, in my case, the ladies just paint paintings of me wherever I go, so.
Yeah, that's not creepy at all, like some kind of weird occult going on. And, of course...
Wouldn't be the first time.
And, of course, Mr. Producer.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's happening, everybody? It is Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's recipes for everything. I am the titular Pirate Captain, of course, and you've already met my crew. We are a D&D podcast that we just don't talk. We don't play the game. Well, we play the game, but we don't play the game like all these other podcasts do. We talk about the rules, the problems, the things coming up that seem to be a big deal with the game. We got a pretty good show, I think, for you guys today, including a little bit of stuff that's going to happen. I do have to go ahead and get out all these sorry about that, these introductory podcast stuff that always has to be done, including got to check out our Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's recipes for everything Facebook page. It's always worth doing it. You can search us and find us that way. You can also email us at bolgandpc@gmail.com. All that information you can always find right there. Make sure that you go and like and subscribe to our podcast wherever it is that you're listening to. Hey, you can even watch it now. There's multiple places you can watch it. If your podcast platform allows you to watch videos, we are uploading these videos now. And, of course, some of you out there on YouTube, just like, subscribe, drop a comment. We do respond to those, and we really appreciate it. So it's part of that. We enjoy it. We have there's all but one episode I haven't uploaded to the YouTube page, and it's actually in between Sorcerer's the Ultimate Caster and what is a dump stat, and that is just because of processing errors that keep coming across. So I got to fix that, but don't worry, that'll be up soon. Anyways, you can always go listen to the entire episode, our entire library. Most podcasts, they fail out at around 10 episodes. Our podcast has gone to I was saying all this and I wasn't even sharing the screen. I'm an idiot. So most podcasts only last 10 episodes. I think we actually are closer to like 50. I think that's like where our counts are roughly about.
It's been a while. Been a couple of years.
Hey, man, what? Let's see. Hold on. I want to go back and I want to look at this now that we're sitting here talking about it. Let's go to share screen 2. Let me actually share it this time. Bam, look at that. I actually did the right thing. Our first episode, November 21st, 2020, and we were in my little shit home studio that was like garbage, and the audio was like everything. And so almost 3 years now coming up in like November, we'll have done this for 3 years. It's crazy. But you get about, I want to say it's like episode 10, and that's when we started using my work studio. when I was still working down there in Tampa, Florida. And then now we do this virtually because we weren't going to give up on you guys. So thank you for not giving up on us. Well, I want to get into today's episode. Quite a few topics to get into. I want to talk about the Baldur's Gate stuff because obviously that is a D&D game made for D&D nerds by probably D&D nerds. Now, we all played the last, and I say this with quotes. Hold on, let me put my coffee down. D&D game, which was the one on Xbox, and that one failed so hard. What was Mr.
Dark Alliance?
Dark Alliance. Yep. Yeah, that one failed. So it had so much potential, and it failed so hard. Like the mechanics were there, but there were so many bugs. You could cheese out like everything if you just played the archer. Like it wasn't. It had potential, but it didn't. But Baldur's Gate is like the talk of the town right now. And those of you, I bought it on PlayStation because I enjoy playing things on my PlayStation right now. So I bought mine on PlayStation. Bolgg, you said you bought yours on PC. Loke said he's not buying shit ever. Like a new damn computer. But you said you've been enjoying it.
Yeah. I mean, I've been playing it since the early access dropped. I was one of those who shelled out the 60 right away because I am a big fan of the original Baldur's Gate games. I've played them, I don't know how many times, but yeah, I mean, I've played that opening section a shitload of times with a bunch of different characters.
This game is one of the reasons I stopped buying early access stuff.
It has been in early access.
It's been in early access for almost 3 years. Almost when we started this podcast.
Yeah,
this went into early access.
Well, I mean,
because I remember bringing it up in a very early episode that it was coming.
And like
we did talk about it, didn't we?
Yeah, the first round early access had like 3 classes maybe, and it was very small. I said, okay, when this comes out and it's a full game, I'll go ahead and I'll buy it. And now it's out in the full game, and I'm still waiting.
Yeah, I don't know why. Come on, just get a PlayStation. Either get a new computer or get a PlayStation 5 and come play. Now I've heard, because it's only out on PC right now, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but they're saying it's cross-platform. Like I'm going to be able to play with you, Bolgg, and it is cross-save. I do know it's cross-save. So if I was to buy it on PC, which I'm not, I could play it over on the PlayStation. So I'm excited. We may have to do some kind of like fun content with that, where we actually just kind of like play ourselves in the game and just kind of like do what we would do naturally.
Well, what is ticking me off a little bit is that they're refusing to release it for Xbox, even though they've got a completed edition, but they are not releasing it because the completed edition they've got doesn't run properly on the Series S, and I've got a Series X.
So
let me play it on my X.
So let me go ahead and throw it out to why PlayStation is still the king of the consoles right now. Like I'm just gonna go ahead and hold on. Let me take a good sip of my coffee.
It's not the Switch is.
It's one of those things.
No, the Switch is not, because the Stream Deck even beats the Switch, because you can play World of Warcraft and League of Legends on the Stream Deck, and you can't do that on the Switch.
This is one of those games that is so graphics intensive. Unless you have the high quality gaming rig, you're going to want to play this on the console.
So not that little crank computer that you run right now.
Exactly. Which is another reason I'm waiting for. And I'll probably do it on the Xbox version is probably what's going to happen, which will be next year.
Well, at least we'll have some peace and quiet away from that dirty, nasty Bard. I mean, of course, bud, we'll definitely play with you when it comes out. I think it's going to be a great game. Like I've heard nothing. I've got friends that I play World of Warcraft with that are like singing its praises right now. But I think the big issue is like if you go in and look at the reviews are coming from players that it looks like they've never played a D&D game ever. Like even just a regular, like, hey, let's sit down at the table and play Dungeons and Dragons. No, like it's absolutely, they have never played D&D at all. And now, go ahead, bud. I'm sorry.
I've heard it's getting exceptional reviews on Steam because it's going against a lot of the industry standards. There's no in-game microtransactions, no battle passes.
Yeah. Well, no, I've heard that too, but I'm talking about the negative. There's a bunch of good reviews. Like it's a really good game from what I've heard. In Bolgg, back me up. What do you think? Like, because you've obviously played it now more than us. now that it's gone live. I've only seen the videos and the trailers. We're going to talk about one of the videos here.
Well, actually, I have yet
don't
to
spoil
play
that
it.
video.
I have yet to play it since it's gone live. I downloaded it. It's a massive game because it was already like 56 gigs for just the early access, and then they added 81 gigs on top of that. So it's a huge game, but I've downloaded it, and then I've been not been able to do it. I've had other things like sidebar, personal note. My mom passed
Rest in peace,
about
Mama.
a week and a half ago, and it's been a little rough. So I've had other things on my mind, unfortunately, and then last night, the reason why we didn't, record, I was sick in the morning, and then we couldn't record in the afternoon because I was at a Disturbed concert.
All good. Well, minus the being sick, but the Disturbed concerts were they really cool dudes. I got to meet them by accident once, but hey, sidebar, dude, rest in peace, Mama. We're gonna miss you. But hey, look, man, it's gonna be it's supposed to be a legendary game. Like the Baldur's Gate, the original one, was really good. I played it with my friends back on the original Xbox. I didn't have an Xbox growing up, but my friends that they were my landlord's kids, and we just became really good friends. And I'd go over their place, and they had it, and we played it all the time. It was a great one. The second one, I'm just not a big fan of it. Like, it just wasn't near as good. Now I have the originals, I think, on Steam because I think they were on sale, but this one is looking to be really good. And I want to talk more about the complaints because Mr. Producer is right. Like, there's nothing but rave reviews about this game right now. But talking like in person to people, because this what I do. I'm a radio guy, so I go out and I just strike up conversations about things. And some of the guys that I've been talking to down at like different game stores and stuff like that have played it and stuff like that, you can tell that they've never played a D&D, like, and I'm saying a sit down D&D game, because Baldur's Gate, all of them so far, because I haven't played the third one, but the first two play like you're playing a D&D campaign. Everything's about dice rolls and can you see perception and stuff like that. It's kind of like the top down scroller that you wish some of the what's the website that's like the digital everybody plays online version. Roll20. There you go. Thank you. So it's like Roll20, which you wish Roll20 was, except for you don't have to load in all your own shit. It's already loaded in there for you, so you can actually just play the game as it is. But the people that are playing it, I don't like how slow paced it is. I don't like the turn based style of it. I don't like the dice. But that's, you're playing D&D you're playing a D&D game playing D&D. So it's almost like you're playing a player that's playing a game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the original Baldur's Gates were based on 3 and 3.5.
Actually,
or
no,
was
I
it
think
2?
the first one was 2.
2 and then 3.
Yeah.
And that was like you had to deal with FACO and all that other stuff, but luckily all the math was done naturally for you.
Right.
Could you imagine some like knuckle dragger kid trying to play Baldur's Gate, trying to do the math to add up his own scores on that one?
At me.
Well, and that was another
hold
thing
on.
with the original Baldur's Gate, because you had to know the math and the strategy and stuff like that. It was a very difficult game, to start at the beginning. And you have to know, at level 1 I can face a goblin. Level 1 I can't face a dragon. You have to know that kind of.
But it was also one of those games that was easily modded. Yeah. I mean, it allowed you to put in your own portraits for your own characters. You could add entire races. I know there's a skills and powers patch that somebody made that added that entire book, which made the game just insane. In fact, it made mine crash way back when.
Yeah, but you could do the same thing in Morrowind when you could make like the infinite light potion and like burn out your Xbox. Oh man.
I'm also the opposite of Bolgg when it comes to video games. So where like, he likes the what's the game that I'm blanking on the name of now? That's really hard.
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls. He likes those Dark Souls really hard. Today. Where I'm much more of a casual, so I use the mod to max my level and stats. make Baldur's Gate easier just to
It's
walk
story
through.
mode. Yeah.
Story mode.
How do you God moding your own like a game? Like this is why he's a good DM, because he's like, nah, I don't like what the DM's doing. God mode, baby. And just like touch
Exactly.
that dies.
But
Touch that dies.
Baldur's Gate was actually hard enough that even if you did that and your main character had max level, max stats to start with, you would still die if you made mistakes.
Yeah.
Well, they have a re-released version that released for modern consoles a few years ago, that has the ability to turn on God mode and invincibility, so that you could walk through the game.
I don't want to.
They call it the story mode.
I call that a walking simulator, and I ain't playing it.
Which, if you don't know, Baldur's Gate 3 is based on 5th edition. Hey,
Wait,
and
it's not based on D&D 6th edition yet?
no, it's not based on 6th edition. But well, that's because it's been, early access since before they even thought of that.
I just wanted to be a smart ass.
But actually,
it's probably the model for 6th edition, because they're trying to make it more like a video game, so it'll just copy this instead.
Yeah.
the complaint that I've heard from somebody who does play D&D, she's actually been on this podcast before, Rava. She is a newer school gamer, so she doesn't like the old school. You have to click where you want to go or hold down the button and drag. She doesn't like that she has to change key bindings. Like,
What?
that's PC gaming.
Yeah, you got to make it. You've got to make it yours. Like that's the idea behind it. You should always want to make, like, every World of Warcraft player, Final Fantasy IV, every MMO player. That's like one of the first thing they teach you to do. Like you go to a lot of these videos, are like, hey, bro, whatever your keybinds are, no, don't do it that way. Find what's comfortable for you. Granted, I use a 12 button MMO mouse, so I use shift and control.
God.
Oh, those things, that thing is awesome, bro. It took a little bit to get to learn, but man, that is the thing. I was going to show it, but it messes with everything.
I've got my
I got the razor.
Are the buttons all on like the side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is like highly worth it. I recommend them. Like it takes a little bit to get used to. It really does. But once you get it, you cannot play with another mouse. I got one for Felix. Because when he started playing World of Warcraft 2, I was like, hey, bro, this will change your life. And he's done the same thing.
Yeah,
so,
mine's only 10 buttons, but
I got the 12s because I've had them all mapped out too before. Like with 12, you can get like infinite number of possibilities. But that's PC gaming though. But that's a legit complaint though. Like I could see that for newer players. The ones that are just like hating on the systems of the game because they've never played it in that style before. That's where I'm starting to kind of like, all right, guys, I'm not going to take what you're saying as much as somebody who's like, if you're a Baldur's Gate fan and you've played 1, 2, and now you're playing 3, and you're like, hey, I don't like it because the story's kind of wonky. I want to get into one of the story aspects. It's not that it's wonky, it's just funny. But it's just like, those. I want to hear your complaints first, and then I'm going to start addressing some of the complaints of the newer players, not to like discredit what they're saying, but sequels aren't meant for new players. And it's going to be kind of weird saying this, but sequels were never meant for new players because then you lose out on the story. Let's take Horizon, right? You don't know what's really going on in the new Horizon one if you didn't play the original Horizon, and vice versa with any of these games. Sequels were never meant for new players. This one, I think, actually is kind of, though, because of the way it's its own story and it's doing its own thing. We were talking before the show about how Baldur's Gate 2 was really more of a continuation of 1.
Right. And this is like 100 years later, and it's different games. It's 5th edition instead of 2nd edition.
Right.
It just happens to be in the same location.
And they actually have things that have happened in media outside of the game. Now, Larian Studios, the one who picked up the license and made the game. Larian Studios released Divinity 1 and 2, which are excellent games. And the game plays very much like that, but with a D&D twist. Now, if you've watched the trailers and all that, you actually see that there's a character from those first 2 games that shouldn't be alive because, well, they're human and a hamster. They should not be alive at all. But Minsk and Boo are there because of events that have happened in the comic books that caused Minsk and Boo to come back to life. So
and they were very popular with the D&D fan base.
because they're fun.
Yeah, so
and I'm sure Dritz is going to show up because of Dritz.
Yeah.
I
honestly,
as long as they got the licensing, that he'll show up.
Honestly, like Dritz is like one of my least favorite characters of that whole like. He's just like a moody. He's like a moody teenager. It's like living with my husky. Like, it's just crazy like that. I want people to enjoy this game. I think it's gonna. It looks really good. The videos and stuff that I've seen about it, it looks like it's gonna be an awesome game. I just don't want new players coming into it and trashing it because they don't know what to expect. And I think this is a problem with a lot of video games lately. Yeah, Days of Endless Adventure.
Yeah, that's the comic series. Minsk in the first chapter is released, so he's a big part of this as well.
So, but like I was saying, I don't want new players coming in and not knowing, and that's the fault of a lot of games. And one things that I really can't stand, because there's a couple new MMOs that I'm looking at. I'm trying to diversify in the MMOs that I play. And I would like to see, and Baldur's Gate should do this and show more gameplay trailers. I shouldn't have, and we've gotten away from that because of streamers and stuff like that. The streamers will go in and they'll show you, but I don't want to see somebody. I want to see somebody like, hey, this is the core basics of the game. This is what's going to happen. Da 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 da. Put it on your YouTube and stuff like that, so that way I can see. Because I think if these new players that are having issues with the way that the game runs and operates, means that we're not really. You're not really getting a full face value of what the game actually is going to play like. And I can't stand that when I go to play a game and what it looks like in the trailers is nothing like what it plays. And I can see
trailers all cut scenes, and then you actually sit down to play it, and it's all
in the gameplay
8-bit graphics from 1983.
That drives me insane. Like, I want to be able to play, like I want to see the gameplay footage. And I've had issues with the MMOs that are doing that. And so I can understand Rava's complete hate of, okay, this is annoying. I don't enjoy this, because she didn't know what was going into it.
Well, also like the first person shooter generation is not going to, this is not the game for them.
Yeah.
This is a multiplayer party based thing where, like, if you play the single player version of this, you're controlling all party members, however many party members you have.
Yeah, so it's like it's like Dragon Age essentially.
Yeah, it's much more like the Dragon Age type. People who've never played a Baldur's Gate, it's much closer to a Dragon Age than even a Diablo. Like, Diablo is that top-down point and click model as well, but you're still only controlling a single person.
Well, with Diablo, you don't even have to point and click. You can actually pilot. Pilot.
The console version, it's.
Well, you can do, it's got controller. Like, I know 4, I haven't played 4. I enjoy Diablo. I just was never like a super big Diablo guy. So I didn't buy 4. I was going to wait for it to go on sale. But there's controller support that you can actually do it with the PC. Because I like being able to like pilot my guy with that one. I'm much more reactive than trying to.
Yeah, but you're not going to be able to do those little things with Baldur's Gate.
Rava's main complaint is that she wants to be able to WASD instead of pointing and clicking. She wants to be able to move freely, and that's not what this game is about. It takes the mechanics of D&D, like movement and speed, and applies it to how every character moves. So you need to have that point and click, that drag and run, because if you're just WASDing everywhere, it doesn't have the true feeling of, okay, now we're in an encounter and now I have only 6 seconds to move around. So I never had a problem with it. It was the same back in the old Baldur's Gate. So
yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, sequels aren't meant for new players. I'm not trying to be mean to new players who want to come in and play something. It's the truth of the fact. Like, it's a continuation of the story. Like, I've been playing Siphon Filter again. And if anybody remembers PlayStation Siphon Filter, it's a great little gun game, has a pretty good story. But if you didn't play Siphon Filter 1, you wouldn't know what happened, why Leon Zing is in a different area in Siphon Filter 2. And so it's that mindset. So
but to bring go back to an earlier point, but also talk about this one, is that for the gameplay trailers, there's an excellent example of people doing this, but also the fact that this is a sequel, that the developers have learned a lot from their previous games and have updated.
It's not like they didn't have 15 years to fix whatever that was. I'm just going to be honest.
Well, right. But this is From Software, of course, one of my favorite companies, and Armored Core. Armored Core 6, they sent out basically old-fashioned demo discs to YouTubers and reviewers and let them show 20 minutes of gameplay. That's a lot of gameplay in this day and age. That's
I know
for a preview.
I know some damn intro storylines that, you know, in 20 minutes you're still freaking learning basic contraptions of the gameplay mechanics. So 20 minutes isn't really a whole lot.
Yeah.
Well, when you're playing
driving games where you haven't even got out of the garage yet because you're still learning to shift gears.
Oh man, I won't even talk about that. When like driver on PlayStation 1 was like that. If you didn't know what a slalom was because you're 8 years old and you don't know what words mean, and we're not gonna talk about
but
that.
They obviously like they sent these out. They're like, here, show them exactly what they're going to be getting into. Which from what I've seen of the gameplay, it looks a lot like older Armored Core mixed with things that they've learned from the Soul series.
Okay.
And the boss battles are enormous. They've gone back to huge, grandiose boss battles. But the minute-to-minute gameplay feels like Armored Core. It's just the movement, everything is a little bit more modernized, and they've learned a lot from their past games.
I heard that's not the only thing that's grand in the other fancy word that you used. We're going to talk about this one because I think because it leads right in there. Like they were really going all out with this one. I want to talk about this one. Talk about this, and it's they revealed a bear sex scene, and it goes to the top of the list for. I don't think that's the reason it went to the top sellers list on Steam.
Well, it was on the top sellers list when the early access first came out. It was #1, like the day after it came out. 3 years later, before the final release, they released this scene and it jumps back up there. So
here's the thing. I kicked.
Yep, he kicked his mic, so he's got to fix it. Yeah, that it definitely helped boost things back up. Yeah. Plus the reveal that it's rated M and it has strong sexual content and nudity.
No. So this, when I saw this title, that's not even where I went for it. Like, here's where my mind went. You're telling me that a game about D&D that plays like D&D has a D&D like scenario in it, because there is somebody out there that have been like, hey man, can I have sex with that thing? And that poor DM's like, God.
Yeah, it's just like the joke with the bard
persuasion.
The bard trying to sleep with the dragon instead of slaying it. I mean,
that's like a good TikTok I saw last night, where it's like the guy's like, I'm the worst roller at the table. I'm getting 3s and 4s and 2s. We're facing Tiamat. There's nothing I can do to help.
Reset your dice.
Wait. I rolled to turn her off and then give her this face. And then he rolls a 1.
That's actually, I don't know who that guy is, but I like that. I like that mentality. Like, if I'm having a crash, I'm going to take the system and turn it on its head. I just think it's funny. Like, if this is the reason Baldur's Gate 3 shot to the top of the list, then we really need to explain to people the world of D&D. Like, we really just need to have a sit down, kind of like telling your parents for the first time, like, hey, look, I'm been drinking beer, and they're like.
But this also got them a lot of press.
This game was already traveling very fast within the nerd community and stuff like that. It didn't need any more press. Like with this one,
no,
but you're right.
It got a lot of press 2 weeks before they released the game. To the general release of the game. I mean, you can't ask for more.
I don't think
as far as advertising and sales are concerned.
I think that you didn't need this, but I think it's hilarious. Like if that would have came out, like that's why I know this is a D&D game for D&D nerds, is because of things like that. Because now everybody's going to try to figure out how to unlock the special cut scene where you get to have sex with a bear, and other people are going to be like, bro, do we really want to do this, or can we just go back to killing goblins? And the bard in the party's like, no, bro, I got this. Oh,
and that's one of their selling points, is the flexibility of this game. You can do a lot of different stuff that you would not be able to do in other previous iteration. Like I remember even the first release of the early access, they were selling like the difference in using things like elevation during combat, and things like you just don't normally see in the top-down games of the modern world.
I think
that was the 3 years ago stuff. So what they've added in since then.
How do they use what's the physics engine like?
Yeah,
don't even start with the damn physics in this one.
Well, supposedly that's one of the selling parts. The physics engine is very good.
I don't want to hear anything from y'all about physics ever.
And you can get magical dark vision.
I hate you. I mean, I should mute you right now. In fact, yeah, here, let me just Oh, asked to unmute. No, oh crap. He's got to, I muted him.
I have to unmute myself.
He has to unmute himself. Oh, maybe I should start using that more. This game is, it's going to be great. And from talking to players and stuff like that who've actively played since its release recently, I had two different groups that were playing, and one of them was like, "Hey, we did the story." I don't want to reveal anything that I know. I don't mind spoilers. Like if you tell me something, unless there's something I really don't want to know. But this was one of those things. I'm not going to spoil it for those of you who are listening. So, there's like different scenarios, and how you go into each scenario is going to be different. So you can actually have multiple playthroughs where you do things in 8 or 9 different ways, and it works out for you. So that way you don't have to, you can play it again. So let's say all 4 of us sit down and we're like, all right, we're going to play it this way. And we're going to go, I want to help side A this time because we helped side B last time, and it's going to play it. And I think that's really cool. That's the replayability of a game. And if you don't get to do the sex scene with the bear because that's what you wanted to do, well, you get to go back in and you can replay it again. Or for the love of God, somebody, oh man, I just thought about this. Somebody's probably got that scene saved right now, and they just go back. Oh man. Oh God, I just ruined my mind. Oh yeah, Chingo. Oh, nobody's going to stop me. No one's going to continue on the conversation. Nope. They just want to let me revel. You guys are assholes. There's some creep perv out there that's like saved right before this scene, and he's just like, yeah, gonna go crank it out to that one today. I hate people. You know what? The internet's banned. I'm done with the internet. I'm done with this. This is just, I don't know.
Well, we got other topics to talk about.
I want to finish the replayability of this one, but I do want to like move on to another topic before I need to bleach my mind.
And I'm just looking at the wiki page on this. The Metacritic score on this right now is at like a 94 out of 100.
Like Metacritic is
overall
really
getting getting decent reviews to be that high.
Metacritic's actually a pretty good, like they're pretty, for the most part, evenly based. They do have their tendencies to lean certain ways for certain games, based on developers and things like that. But for the most part, they're really good. So I'm excited. Like I said, I pre-ordered on PlayStation, so I'm going to be playing it here in about. It comes out on the 3rd for me, or I think it comes out on the 3rd, so I get access to it on the 1st, which is like It'll be Friday. Yeah, it'll be Friday the 1st. So, and I'll probably hit you up there, Bolgg, and we can play together because it does have cross-platform play. Like, so that I'm excited about. So that way, not all of us have to have it on the same platform unless you want to buy it on an Xbox for whatever dumb reason. I don't know. It's just stupid. PlayStation king of the consoles. But
how's that Game Pass going? That crappy one that doesn't really work as Game Pass.
Hey, how does my Xbox not burning out over playing simple games that PlayStation's been playing since it was released? Oh wait,
my Xbox is fine.
Oh, that was like the big complaint between those two systems, was like the Xbox was like burning itself out trying to play what PlayStation was. Granted, PlayStation had a fan issue and was doing the same thing when it first an issue, but it was a component issue, not so much of like the hardware issue, like just all in general. So I like the PlayStation. I think PlayStation's king of consoles, and it's definitely better than the Switch. Like, I know this is not like D&D related stuff, but there's nerds out there, and I love the Switch. I love my Switch, and I want to get back to this conversation that we were having before the show. I love my Switch. I think it's great, but the fact that it bogs itself down with like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, like, what the hell? Like, I had to buy a whole new Switch because it burnt out. So Switch is not the king of the consoles. The Stream Deck is better than the Switch. I'm just going to throw that one there. But on to the next topic before they have a chance to rebuttal.
Well, king of the consoles doesn't work if you own them all. So
there's one that always stands above the rest.
I put myself into debt for that. I'm not one of the rich motherfuckers. I just put myself into debt.
It's worth it. I'll be playing PlayStation in the gutters. Oh, I want to talk about this topic because I say I troll, but I don't respond to. I don't talk to a whole lot of people outside on social media. If you respond to us, I'll respond to you because I think that's what I would do. But I don't go digging through people's comments and stuff like that to go, no, you're wrong. In fact, I don't do that. Like, you're entitled to whatever the hell you want to believe. I don't care. But this one I think is kind of like, this one I think is a bad take. A bad take on their part, but probably a better take on mine. And it's people who ask for specific roles in their campaign settings. Like, there's a lot of players, people out there that they're playing online, which is really cool. So they're trying to make sure that they have it. But what they're looking forward in these campaigns is like, well, I want a healer. We already are having a hard enough time that you have to post out somewhere that you need a person to play that role. And granted, you're going to find somebody. It's not hard to find somebody, but apart from just asking for the specific role, then you have, hey, look, we meet this Tuesday and Wednesday. You got to be here at this time, 6 times. And it's almost like a job application upon that. So you're actively asking for a specific role. And the only reason I say healer is the post I was looking at said, hey, I'm looking for a healer. So you're now alienating half of or a third of your player base, because we'll just use the Holy Trinity for the purposes of this argument. So you're alienating like a third of your party base because there are 2/3 of your party base because there are people who just don't like healers. And here's my take on this. If you were looking to fill your you should be looking to fill your campaign. If they come in, maybe they want to be a healer. If they don't want to be a healer, I think that you should, as a DM, kind of modify your campaign a little bit to where you don't need so much as a person whose role is to heal. And it could be like a tank or a DPS, and it should go this way too, that you actually just modify it. Like, hey, for the purposes of healing, here's some extra potions and stuff like that. That way you're kind of more self-sustaining, and now you get to fill your campaign. You get to have a new friend, somebody at the table who actually, like I said, may end up being the healer. But I think you're alienating like 2/3 of your audience when you specifically ask for that role. Am I the jerkwad here, or am I not actually trying to like dial it back and say, hey, look, you guys need to kind of do this better?
This is much less a problem than it used to be. In the old days, when you only had 4 classes, getting the balanced party was very important to get somebody in each of the different 4 classes.
And wasn't it like, and we've talked about this before, like usually the person that showed up last was the one that, you know,
they played the cleric because the old school clerics sucked. And all they could literally do was heal. But now it got somebody at your table playing a sorcerer, you know, they can do the divine soul or whatever.
We don't even have to do. You don't even.
I'm saying you don't have to be a cleric. You could still be something completely different than a traditional healer.
Who is it in our campaign right now that's our main healer Is it?
druid,
Yeah, our
our
druid.
druid.
Yeah, and even I'm the cleric, and I don't heal.
So, but it's not even so much as like having like the perfect role or something like that.
Yeah.
It's more like even if you're like a sorcerer, you don't even have to take like a path that teaches you like a sorcerer's origin that actually says, "Hey, I need to heal. Like I need benefits to being healing," because you can just take spells that are better at healing and stuff like that. That's
Oh
the
yeah,
idea
but
behind,
you'd have to
because the
get
spell lists are
access to
so
the spell list.
well.
You
I
need
think
to do like a magic initiate or something to
Oh, well,
get.
I think the sorcerers actually they get healing spells in their list. I think most casters actually nowadays, even the warlock. Oh no, the warlock doesn't. But I'm
So
pretty sure I know the druids, I know the
you have
bards,
to
I
go with
know
there's a particular warlock subclass.
the warlock. You have to go to
And
that
the warlock
subclass.
and the sorcerer, you have to go with the subclass to get them added,
Mr.
or
Producer,
take something like magic initiate.
Mr. Producer, can you pull up the sorcerer spell list, the basic sorcerer before any class class features and stuff like that, like the sorcerer's origin stuff, and see if there's like any healing spell on their basic list without that, because I think the warlock's the only one that doesn't get like an outright healing spell without having to have like a special feature.
I don't
See,
think the wizards get one.
I think the wizard
at
no the
all.
heals I think the wizards, don't they get like healing word or something like that?
No,
So
no, they don't get a healing spell at all. And then sorcerer and warlock have to take a subclass.
Bolgg, you do wizards for me, and Mr. Producer, you do sorcerers. But you're asking, when you ask that of your players and stuff like that, and you shoehorn them in there, it to me it already sounds like they're not going to have a good time unless they. And granted, the way that this is presented, it's like you have to want to be that role to play, but maybe you just want to play the game, and that's the thing. And you're having a hard time getting in a group. So now, are you really going to compromise what you want to play or how you want to play to be in? Like, it just doesn't sound fun. Versus, I think this time it should be more on the DM. And normally I'm more of like, hey, players need to take some responsibility upon themselves. This one I actually think is the DM's time to sit back and go, hey, you should maybe I should modify it to help out, and you could probably fill that role a lot quicker, and actually probably have a new player that could actually, like I said, would want to do that or something. Like I just think asking for.
At least this way, by advertising it that way to begin with, you're getting somebody who is going to be wanting to play that particular weak spot in the group. Like if you're playing with a group that's all playing melee fighters, right?
Yeah.
And that's what the group is, and they keep getting dropped fight after fight, where you have to have an NPC healer, which the DM doesn't like to run. I'm one of the people who I don't like to have an NPC
I don't like
party member.
I don't like NPCs in my like I don't like as a DM either having to run
Yeah,
NPCs.
so
I do, but as a DM, I would rather give you let you find extra potions and stuff like that to help out if I know we don't have like a legit healer. What do you? It looks like you got the answer, Bolgg.
Wizards do not. No healing spells.
Wizards, okay, so wizards don't. I know warlocks don't, but what about sorcerers? Have we gotten that answer yet?
It's saying favorite soul sorcerers can heal.
So only favorite souls. All right, so yeah, okay.
And using wish to cast.
All right, I don't count wish. Wish isn't a real fucking spell.
Nope, the bard is right. Is what they're saying to you.
I didn't hear that at all.
Get used to that.
If either of the two of y'all say that, I will murder him. Him that way. Yeah, he's that way. I will murder him. All right. If you want him to live, no, not you, him. Damn it! There it is.
See, yeah.
You're on my screen. You're pointing at me.
Oh shit!
on my screen, you're pointing at nobody.
I'm gonna murder the goddamn bard. That's what it's gonna be.
Oh, what? Because he's right.
All right, fine. Sorry, bud. You gotta die. Gotta mute him. That's we'll call that death.
just like Dark Vision, I'm right. Again.
No, you're not. Okay, you were right about the freaking spell list, but you're not right about the Dark Vision. You're not. You get one. You get one.
But still, I mean, there's a lot of ways you could play a healer without being the traditional. Like play a bard that has healing word.
Well, nobody's
play
playing
him as a bard and play normal.
Nobody's playing a bard
like you'd want to, But then when somebody gets dropped, you can pop them back up again using the healing word. You just
no. I just think that, like, even if, let's take the healer out of it. Let's say now we're looking for a tank or something. It's very hard that it's very rare that you would, like, maybe if you're like a three person group, which I've seen in the past, maybe you would have a need for a DPS, but a tank one too. Like, I think shoehorning players in there. Maybe if you need a tank, let's say you have a party full of squishies, maybe like dilute the damage a little bit. Like I said, this is one of the few times that I want to actually put responsibility on the DM, because I think it's the DM's job right there to sit back and say, hey, look, my party's obviously having trouble with this, so maybe I should adjust things slightly to get them going, versus when I'm looking to fill my campaign that already has a role of need to be filled, try to specifically say it. I just think you're alienating like a 2/3 of your player base.
Yeah, and if you're having problems getting anybody in a seat, beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah.
I mean, we typically have a party of like 8 people, so it's somebody will pick up the slack and heal, even if nobody's the designated healer.
Yeah.
And like we were saying, the current party we have has a pair of druids and a priest, and yet somehow the druid has got stuck with the healing role because nobody else wanted it.
As a cleric, the only spell I have that heals is healing word. I mean, I have cure wounds, but I don't ever have it prepared, because that's not what my cleric's about. My cleric is under the god of pain, so she's not about to heal unless she's got a good reason to do so.
I mean, there's healing in pain. Let's just be honest. Have you ever had like heal from a broken bone? Like, there's a little bit of pain and healing. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, that's why she's got the healing word to pop them up if they lose consciousness and stop feeling the pain.
Wake them up. You need to feel pain.
Yeah, that's entirely it.
You walk up to him, you're like, he's unconscious. What do you do? Well, I cast healing word on him, and you need to wake up. There's still pain to be felt, and you're just shaking him back unconscious. Oh, I just created an idea for a character.
Well, that's why it's also important to state that if I've ever got a character who's on 0, that all of my damage is non-lethal.
Well,
that's how torturers work.
No, you can't play that with Bolgg. I don't know which way he is on his own screen. You can't play non-lethal with that jerkwad. Wherever he's
as long as you can do it, as long as they're not at the top of a stair.
No, shut up.
Bladed weapon.
Yeah, I knew this was gonna come.
I mean, you got to be realistic. If you've got a blackjack and you do non-fatal damage to knock somebody out, that's one thing. But yeah, if you're at the top of the stairs and you knock them out and they fall down the stairs.
Why do I let you in this conversation at all? Like, I don't understand why I keep doing this to myself. You want to talk about somebody who enjoys pain? I'm literally just sitting on thumbtacks every time I let you in here. Gosh, like non-lethal.
You gotta learn to check your seat. I throw them there every time. You think?
Why would you? Why do I keep letting you in here? This is I'm just saying. When you try to hunt down specific roles, to reel it back in and away from I don't know which way he is. On my screen, he's this way. So whichever way he is, if he's down, up, I don't care. Yeah, one of these ways. Anyway, when you do this, you're really limiting on what you have and what you can do. Like there's so much potential in any campaign if you just kind of let the players be. But as a DM, like, hey, if I've got to give out more healing potions, or maybe I got to make my guys do less damage, or maybe I got to make my guys do more damage. Maybe it's a bunch of doctors, which I don't know why. Like I can't imagine in my mind a campaign where everybody wants to be a healer. Like it seems kind of weird, but
there's the whole Holy Rollers.
Yeah,
campaign where everybody plays a different type of cleric.
Yeah, but you end up having like the Forge cleric and the other clerics that are really just
the Joe Cat joke. A group of all clerics call them the Amen.
Yeah, that was pretty good. It's
like a group of all orc bards, the orchestra.
Well, and D&D
We're not doing a whole group of bards ever.
D&D is very it's different for every table too. And some people are still bogged down in the old traditional roles, especially if they've been playing it that way their entire, D&D life since first edition. They like playing it that way and they don't want to change. Well,
Yeah.
maybe they want a, fighter, mage, cleric, rogue party that's just the traditional roles of the old school. The old school D&D was based on it was a 4-party system, 4-person party system. You each had those separate roles and nothing overlapped. You didn't have all this subclass and partial class and multi-classing and dual classing was a lot harder.
Yeah. I still agree with that, but
yeah. And so it was a different world. And if that's the world they like to play in, more power to them. At least they're being upfront about it. It would suck to show up to oh, we need a player, and then be told you're playing the healer, period.
Yeah.
Or you're not playing.
No, you got me on that. You got me on that point. Like that would really kind of be like a shiesty way to get somebody in, but being upfront and honest. But at the same time, I don't know if having that kind of like just not being able to find, like, let's say this is the one thing that's holding your campaign back.
Well, and even if I really wanted to play a healer for a particular, I had this great character idea for a healer. If I saw that ad, I probably wouldn't pick it up, just because that tells me of a group that's not very flexible, a DM that's not very flexible, might not be the most fun for me. That's me. Some people that kind of thing don't matter to them.
That was kind of like where I was getting the vibe too. Like it doesn't show that you can't think on the fly. And as a DM, that's got to be like one of your better traits is you have to be able to be like do something on the fly. Speaking of doing something on the fly, and this is a topic that I think I would actually be really, I want to see y'all's opinions on it, and it's the getting 2 natural 20s. 2 natural 20s is hard. Like it's like a 1 in like 600. I don't remember the math, but Colin and I did the math one day while we were sitting there at Game On, and we figured out like how minuscule of a chance it was to get that, and what you had to do. But it has happened. It's happened at our tables before. We've both gotten 2 natural 20s and 2 natural 1s. And I think that if you actually get 2 natural 20s, like, here's how I would treat this as a DM, and I want to see what you guys would do, like how we differ on it. 2 natural 20s to me is instant death. I just want to call that from player to DM, not DM to player. I'm not going to go just out like instantly kill one of my players because I have advantage. So to get 2 natural 20s on the same roll, you have to have advantage. Now, in true matters of the fashion, you're actually they say you're supposed to roll instead of 2 D20s, you actually roll a D20 twice, and that's what advantage is. Nobody I know does it that way. We all just roll 2 natural. We just roll 2 20s. But I think if you're a player and you 2 natural 20 something, that the chances of that hitting are already so kind of, I wouldn't say astronomical, but they're very minuscule, that I think it's almost like an instant death. Like it's just like whatever you hit with those 2 natural 20s is an instant death. And I don't agree with DMs doing that to the players, because there's a lot of things that happen behind the screen, unless maybe there's a player that you just trying to get them out of your campaign, or a character you're just trying to like get rid of. But even then I wouldn't do that. What say you? And then we'll do the 20s, and then we'll come back to the 1s and see what happens on a natural 1.
I don't do anything special. But I could understand if I were, in a campaign where the DM wanted to, I would have no objection to it. Because it is so rare, and it would be special, and it'd be kind of neat. I already overdo crits as it is.
Yeah.
You've seen my crit chart where instead of just adding 1 extra D8 or whatever the standard crit is, I'm throwing multipliers, and not just 2 times, but sometimes 3 times, sometimes 3 times the max of the damage. Where you're already critting.
Yeah, it already sounds like you're trying to burn through your own enemy or your own.
Yeah. So, for to add anything above and beyond that in my campaign would be superfluous. It'd be very, You know,
Well, you have like 8 players, and so that honestly increases the chances of that happening.
that's the other thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I think in smaller campaigns, it's definitely something that would work out a lot better. But I don't know.
Yeah.
What's AE Bolgg?
He
wasn't ready.
Well, no, I'm ready, but I'm probably gonna have an unpopular opinion.
Go for it, bud.
I don't think it changes anything.
Why?
The odds are already against you to get a natural 20. Getting 2 is just okay, cool. Let me let's go with Pathfinder for a second.
Okay.
You got to confirm that critical.
Oh man, that's the super annoying thing about Pathfinders and confirming crits.
How does that work?
So that's the standard critical, stuff for them. So you roll your natural 20, yeah, you got to roll again to make sure it actually is a critical.
So you have to hit them twice. You don't have to get 2 natural 20s. You get the natural 20 and then you have to hit again. Now, if you miss your chance to hit on the second dice, you still get the original hit. It's just not a critical hit. That's
Gotcha.
how natural. That's
Yeah,
how
you've got to hit the AC twice.
Yeah.
Basically, getting a natural 20 on the first one. So, and I've seen people roll 2 natural 20s in a row to confirm the critical.
So why not be instant death? Like that, but that's a whole different system too. Like Pathfinder versus D&D. Like in Pathfinder, I wouldn't make that same argument because Pathfinder, you have to, because that's the rules of the game is like, hey, you got to confirm the crit. Versus D&D in its current edition is you have to hit the 20 and then you just have to hit the 20 once. That's it. 20 is the 20, and it's actually, I don't even think even in the book it says that it's an automatic success. It's still up to the DM.
It's not an automatic. Because success must be possible.
Yes, and because the natural 1 is actually not a guaranteed failure in the book. That's just something that's like carried over from players to.
Yeah. So I mean, if I'm gonna give any kind of reward for it, it's gonna be you roll an extra dice, you get an extra dice. So 1 extra damage dice, double.
So, I mean, but you're already doing that with a crit when you give them the crit. So what is it, like an extra dice on top of the extra dice? Like, so you confirm.
Yeah, I mean, if you're already rolling, say 2d8 for an attack, you get 3d8. And if you're a barbarian and get your brutal critical, now that's 4d8. And then that's all doubled.
Okay. So okay. And just so I'm making sure that I'm mathing right. You roll the original 20. All right. So now you get your extra, let's say you do 1d8. Now you do 2d8. Now let's say you had advantage on it, which is how you roll the second one. You get the second natural 20. Now you roll 3d8. Am I doing the math? Okay. I mean, but that's still something. That's more than what, other players, because 2 natural 20s, to have 2 natural 20s, you have to have advantage. All right, let's just start with that. You already have to have advantage. That's hard enough. It's not really that hard. Like, I think some of the advantage rules in this game are very lax to where it's not near as hard as what it's made out to be. So, yeah, I can kind of see your argument now a little bit now, Bolgg, about that. But I still think that it's
the way that you were just doing your math there was that you're adding a dice in order to double the damage. I'm just straight doubling whatever that first dice roll was. Okay. So if for my purposes, 1d8 for rolling the critical, then the other critical would be another d8, and then you double that result.
It's not bad. I said the way I think an insta kill on it, to me, like, works out better.
Yeah, but what happens if that happens in round 1 against the big bad evil guy?
Yeah,
it goes back to that idea of the DM's got to be able to think on his feet.
Yeah, we're also modifying the crit rules, even as they are. We don't play with the book crit rules.
Yeah, because they're kind of lame.
If you're hitting with a long sword, you're not doubling. You're adding an extra D8 or an extra D10. Whatever the damage dice of that weapon, you add an extra dice of that weapon. You don't double anything in 5e base rules. There is no multiplier on a crit.
Yeah,
we do it because, like I said, we want the bigger crits. We like the chaining of where they could have the possibility of one hitting even the big bad guy.
Yeah. So because this is how, because like the book crits are very lame, because as it says, when you score a critical hit, you get an extra roll, extra dice for the attacks damage against the target. Roll all the attacks damage twice and add them together, and then add any relevant modifiers as normal. It's kind of lame. It really is. Like the crit chart. We used to play with the crit deck too. The crit deck is one of my more favorite items that we play with. Because it has happened. I've actually got a crit and used the crit deck, and because I was using magic, I sent the big bad to an extra plane of existence. Yeah. And a guy that we haven't had, I've been trying to convince him to come on the podcast. I think he would be he's a really good personality. I think he'd be awesome. He was like, I guess the mission's over because you just sent the big bad to another plane, and there's no way for him to come back because it was like a level 4 monster. We were only like level 2, and it was like a level 4 monster. He didn't have extra planar travel. An instant kill, like I said, you have to be able to think on your feet, which is a big part of being a DM, is like being able to like, okay, so how do I respond to that? Just adding the damage dice just doesn't feel like it's done a whole lot. Like, I like the crit table. I enjoy the crit table for what it does, and the crit deck, and however you want to do your crits. I think it is, but I think, like I said, you have to have advantage first off, which depending upon the party size could be a lot harder. Now you guys play with eight players, so having advantage is almost guaranteed no matter what you do. And it turns into
things like tactics. Tasha's and Anthar, they've made advantage much easier. It's not just flanking anymore. The rogues now have steady aim that they could just give up their bonus action to automatically get advantage. Pack tactics for certain races, or there are so many ways, and it has become so easy to get advantage.
So, and that's where I would argue, closer to what you're saying, Bolgg, is like, okay, hey, look, because it's so easy, but at the end, let's say you even do have advantage. Now it's like 1, and it's like 20 times 20. Well, it's actually like 20 times 20, and then 2, 1 and 1. So it's like 2, and like there's a math on this that I'm not mathing right.
It's like 40 to the power of 2.
Something ridiculous. So
it's the number of possible outcomes.
I need Baka.
Times the number of possible outcomes.
Baka would be able to math this out for me right now. This is why he's an engineer and I'm just a radio guy. So, that astronomical, and to have that moment to where like you get something so incredibly rare, because like, look, when it's happened to us at the table, the whole table goes nuts. Like, we are insane with happiness because it's like, oh, bro, you just did something so insane, it's crazy. And I think that having that moment of where you just get a like coup d'etat, the boss or something, like, even if it's not a boss, half the time it's happened to us, it's just happened on some lowly ass goblin, and you're like, oh yeah, I super murdered the goblin, I hit it and it exploded. And that's the thing. So I think like,
just with the action economy, a lot of times where you have, again, when you're playing with a party of 8, 100 hit point big bad guy who happens to go last because of a bad initiative roll probably ain't gonna get to go.
Yeah,
because the entire party is gonna whittle him down before he ever gets his turn. So what's the difference if one of those guys knock him out?
Yeah, first turn or something like that.
First turn versus
another way you could do it, I guess.
Another
way you could do it, I guess, is that's when you get okay, how do you want to do this type moment? Like, instead of just saying, okay, you killed the goblin, it's like, okay, how did you kill the goblin?
So I like those moments. I really do. The issue is you end up playing with some non-creative players, and they're like, I hit it with my hammer, I guess. Like, okay, how did you hit it with your hammer? You're kind of leading them on to have this like somatic moment where it's just like the ultimate kill, and it's like, even if it's like a little goblin, but it's like one of those moments where the camera like slow pans on him, showing that great action scene, and he's like, he walks up and he's like, think, I guess, and you're like, oh. So
that leads to improv improvement. But by listening to other people do it, and being put on the spot and doing it yourself, that's something. Also, have them watch a few horror movies. There's a great number of kills in there. I mean, look at Friday the 13th. There's he stabs a girl with a road sign and then rips her in half.
I mean, you don't even
one of the best kills ever in horror, and
there's plenty of scenes out there that you don't even have to be horror. But like you said, you're giving that moment to that player, and sometimes they just don't even if they've been around, like there are players that we have been around quite a bit, and they still suck at RPing. Like you can't teach things that people don't want to learn, and so trying to give them that moment. It's not. I'm not trying to say
some people don't want that moment.
Yeah,
That's not what they're there for. They're there for they're there to hang out with their friends rather than to be the star of the show or whatever. It's a different game for everybody.
Yeah. It's not a bad take. Like Bolgg, I'm not downplaying what you're saying. Like it's not a bad take at all. I think it's a very legit answer. Like mine and Loke's are, I'm not gonna say better because it's got Loke in it, and I'm never gonna agree with that guy. So you know what, Bolgg, you win this one.
Yeah, but now if you were playing and somebody else is the DM, not you, Bolgg, and they had a mechanic in their campaign where at a double 20 it does something special where it adds more crit dice or does triple damage instead of double damage or instant kills or whatever it was. Would that bother you while playing?
This is your chance to fix his campaign.
To play with that person?
It wouldn't bother me. It just would be like oh, okay, that's what we're doing. Cool. And then I'd keep playing.
That's kind of where I'm at it. It's like, it's not really going to hurt anything, but it's not really going to make anything so much better to do it. So
it would only bother me if it keeps mysteriously happening.
Yeah.
Coming from the guy that's king of fudge and rolls, I'm just gonna leave it right there.
Only behind the screen.
This has been Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captains, recipes for everything. Make sure you go out and find us everywhere. I didn't actually have a sponsor for this episode. Our friends are super busy, but we don't have one for this one. But we're sponsoring ourselves on this one. So I want you, the loyal listener, to come on out and check us out wherever you can find your podcast. You can find us. It's simple. Search up Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captains, recipes for everything. If you do featuring Luke the Bard, you'll never find anything because he's always lost. We have so many different platforms you can find our episodes on. Amazon, Castbox, Stitcher's going away. They're canceling theirs, but we're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you can. If, let's say, maybe listening to things, maybe you want to watch us kind of get it down and dirty, you can always go to our YouTube page. It's the same thing. We do not make this hard for you to find. Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captains, recipes for everything. And then, of course, our fancy Facebook page. You're more than welcome to come talk to us on here. We do post about when different things are happening. If there's a delay to the show or something that's going on, we'll let you know. With that being said, say goodbye, Bolgg.
Goodbye, Bolgg.
Say goodbye, Luke.
See ya.
Say goodbye, Mr. Producer.
Later, guys.
See you guys.
You've been listening to Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's Recipes for Everything, featuring Loke the Bard. Like, follow, subscribe, and share this podcast. You can also find them on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Just search for Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's Recipes for Everything. Questions, comments, and mutiny requests can be sent to bolgandpc@gmail.com. And as always, happy adventures.